Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. For OP, it was making sure the mother-in-law didn't show up at the honeymoon pretending to be part of the all-inclusive package. Today in the rLounge, some people don't need travel points. They need therapy miles. Entitled mother-in-law invaded our honeymoon, so we left her at the airport. We'd been engaged for less than a week when I realized my future mother-in-law was going to be a problem. She didn't congratulate us at first. She just said, "Finally." It was like something she'd been waiting for us to fix. She immediately started asking when she could start helping with the wedding, which in her language meant taking over everything. We made a group chat for both sides of the family so everyone could get updates easily. Within a day, she was spamming it with Pinterest links and suggestions. At first, I ignored it, thinking she was just excited. Then she began adding rules about who should sit where, what colors photograph better, and how the ceremony should honor the elders. I told her that we already had a plan and would handle the details. She left me on red and sent my fiancé a message saying I was being controlling. That was the first sign of what was coming. A few weeks later, I noticed she added herself as an editor to our shared online calendar. She renamed events, moved appointment times, and even created one called Bridal Countdown with Mom. My fiancé thought it was funny at first until he missed a vendor meeting because she had changed the date. I revoked her access and locked the calendar. She played dumb and said it must have been a glitch. Sure. A very specific glitch that added her phone number to everything. We let it slide, thinking maybe she'd calm down once we gave her a couple of harmless tasks. We asked her to help collect RSVPs from her relatives. Big mistake. She mailed out her own invitations, different ones with her design, and invited extra people we'd never even heard of. When we confronted her, she said, "It's family, you can't exclude them." She didn't get the concept of limited seating. We canceled all her RSVPs and redid the count ourselves. That led to her crying in the group chat about being disrespected. People started taking sides. I stayed out of it. Around that time, we booked our honeymoon. We both wanted somewhere quiet and private, so we picked an island resort, just a beach with some space. We didn't tell anyone the exact destination. We only said it would be after the wedding. The confirmation emails went to a separate alias account we created for wedding stuff. We figured that would keep things simple. A week later, she called to say she had millions of travel points and wanted to upgrade our flights as a wedding gift. All she needed, she said, was the booking reference number. My fiancé almost gave it to her until I stopped him. Something about it didn't sit right. I told him no. If she wanted to give us a gift, she could pick something from the registry. She went silent for a while after that, which was the calm before the storm. Then she started accidentally leaking information she shouldn't have known. She mentioned our departure date in a conversation with one of his cousins. The only way she could have known was through his synced devices. I checked his tablet and, sure enough, she had added her email as a recovery email address months ago when she helped him set up the account. I removed her and changed every password. The week of the wedding, she was already on thin ice. She showed up to the rehearsal wearing a cream-colored dress that looked suspiciously close to white. When people pointed it out, she pretended not to understand and said, "It's champagne." Sure. She also tried to reschedule the rehearsal dinner to a time that worked better for the elders, meaning her friends. We told her no. She threw a fit, stormed off, and sent a paragraph-long text to my fiancé about how a good wife keeps peace with her husband's family. He told her to back off. She gave the silent treatment for 2 days. On the actual wedding day, she arrived wearing another champagne dress, but our coordinator quickly threw a wrap over it, telling her it was to match the decor for photos. She bought it. The ceremony went fine. She made herself the center of every group photo and interrupted our photographer twice to get better angles. After the reception, we left quietly and stayed near the airport. We didn't tell anyone which hotel because we already suspected she might try something. That night, my fiancé's phone buzzed nonstop with her texts asking for our flight info to plan a surprise. We ignored them. The next morning at the airport, while checking in, we noticed a third seat on our booking under her name. I thought it was an error. The airline rep looked confused and said she'd been added through a family companion perk. Apparently, she had linked her frequent flyer account to his months ago, and the system allowed her to attach herself as a companion. I asked them to remove her immediately and lock the reservation from any changes. They did. I also changed our seats while I was at it. 10 minutes later, she walked into the terminal rolling a huge suitcase like she was joining us. She waved and shouted our names like this was some sitcom reunion. People were staring. I kept my voice low and told her she wasn't coming. She said, "Oh, don't be silly. It'll be fun." I didn't argue. I walked straight towards security. My husband followed. She stood there shouting after us. While we were boarding, we got another notification. She tried to relink her companion seat using a printed QR code she brought. I went back to the gate agent, explained what was happening, and asked them to put a "no changes without passenger present" note on the reservation. They understood and even helped us reroute our connection through a different city so she couldn't find our gate. We boarded quietly. I turned my phone on airplane mode and felt nothing but relief. Halfway through the first flight, I turned my phone back on to check the Bluetooth tag I'd slipped into a gift box she'd insisted on bringing for us. The tag was still pinging at the origin airport. She never got past the counter. I sent her one final message before takeoff. "Don't come, you're not invited." Then I blocked her number. When we landed for our connection, everything was quiet for a while. We got lunch, switched gates, and relaxed. I thought maybe that was it. Then the resort emailed us asking if we were expecting a relative to join us. Apparently someone had called claiming to be our mother, requesting to add herself to the booking. They didn't give her the room number, but she was persistent. A staff said they'd refused and wanted to confirm if it was a scam. I told them to add a note not to release any information about us to anyone, even if they claimed to be family. We arrived on the island that evening. The place was perfect. Quiet, clean, not crowded. I didn't even think about her that night. We had dinner, went to bed early, and finally felt relaxed for the first time in weeks. The next morning, though, the front desk emailed again. A guest claiming to be my husband's mother had tried to pick up a key on behalf of her son. When they asked for ID, she said her bag was misplaced. They refused, thankfully. They also said she demanded to speak to the manager and made a scene in the lobby before leaving. A few hours later, she started posting pictures on social media from the island. Except the pictures weren't from the resort. They were clearly taken in the airport lounge back home. You could even see the city logo behind her in one of the mirrors. She captioned one, "Having a relaxing start to the honeymoon with my favorite couple." The comments were full of people asking where we were and congratulating her for being such a cool mother-in-law. She didn't stop. She started messaging people saying we'd abandoned her at the airport. According to her version, we forgot she was joining and left her stranded. We spent the rest of the trip doing what we came for: relaxing, eating, sleeping, and swimming. When we got back, we changed the locks and the access codes to everything. She had a spare key from years ago for emergencies. While unpacking, I found her suitcase sitting on our porch. It had been shipped there with our names on it. No note. Inside were matching outfits for the honeymoon, a printed itinerary where she'd written her name into every day, and a laminated copy of our wedding photo labeled "Family Forever." Later that night, we sent her one plain email. It said, "Honeymoon was private. Your behavior was intrusive and not welcome. Do not insert yourself into our travel again." I know some people think leaving her at the airport was harsh. I don't. She wasn't invited. She wasn't part of our plans. She crossed every line we drew. We tried polite warnings, clear communication, even technology locks, and she still tried to override everything. That's all I have to say about that. Update 1. I didn't expect to write an update, but so much happened after we got back that it's worth sharing. Nothing dramatic or storybook, just the kind of petty fallout that happens when someone finally faces a wall they can't climb. When we got home, I thought it would be quiet. We were unpacking, still half tired from the flights, when an email popped up from the airline. They were following up about the incident involving her attempt to attach herself as a travel companion. Apparently, she had called customer service multiple times the same day, insisting she was our authorized traveler and demanding compensation for being denied boarding. The airline reviewed the case and discovered she'd violated their terms by accessing another person's booking through shared loyalty data. Her companion privileges were immediately suspended for a year. They also flagged her account for "do not modify third-party reservations." Basically, she's blacklisted for messing with anyone else's trips. She must have gotten the email before we did because she sent a long message to my husband claiming we'd ruined her travel reputation. She followed up with, "I hope you're happy embarrassing me." Yes, actually, we were. A few days later, the hotel manager from our honeymoon resort reached out. They received a formal complaint from her accusing the staff of discrimination because they refused to give her a key to our room. They attached a detailed incident report with timestamps and screenshots from security footage. The manager's note was polite but clear. They'd added a "do not issue key" flag under her name across all their partner properties. So now, if she ever tries that trick again anywhere in their network, the system automatically rejects her. Then came the phone plan situation. She set up our family phone accounts years ago and had access to location tracking. I'd forgotten all about it until I saw a ping request notification pop up on my phone randomly one night. Sure enough, she was still on the account as an admin. We switched carriers that week. When she realized she'd lost tracking access, she sent another round of texts claiming we were overreacting and cutting her out. I blocked her again, this time for good. A week after that, her mysterious suitcase came back into the picture, the one she mailed to our porch. I hadn't looked inside thoroughly before donating the clothes, but my husband opened one of the leftover pockets out of curiosity. Inside was a printed itinerary she'd written out for our honeymoon, broken down by the hour. It included family breakfast, bonding beach walks, and mother-son dinner. She had literally planned herself into every day of her trip. I took pictures of every page and added them to a folder labeled Receipts. I know some people would just toss it, but I like evidence. People like her twist stories fast. Around the same time, one of his cousins created a new family group chat without her. We didn't ask for it, it just happened. Turns out everyone was tired of her constant drama. When she started telling people that we abandoned her at the airport, others started asking questions. She tried to say we promised to bring her, but one cousin still had screenshots from the old messages showing her saying she'd surprise us. That shut her down fast. She left the chat before anyone could respond. A few days later, we got an email from the airline again, this time confirming she tried to dispute a small charge she'd claimed she paid for our upgrade. The payment never existed, so the claim was denied. They actually listed the reason as attempted unauthorized reimbursement, another mark on her account. It's almost funny, at this point, how many official systems now have "Do not trust this woman" written next to her name. That's about it for now. Every single thing she did screams psychological instability wrapped in pearls and perfume. The fake invites, the calendar sabotage, the hijacked honeymoon. That's not helping. That's single white femaling her own son's marriage. She just didn't want to be part of the wedding. She wanted to be the bride. The champagne dress was her trying out her role. And the suitcase with matching outfits? That's straight up delusional behavior. And then she had the nerve to cry victim? No, ma'am. The only thing she's a victim of is her own obsession. Do you have a similar story about your mother-in-law? Share it with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.